He's not losing that much money. So take that, Mr. No Raise in 48 years.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornbluth, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome into Sports Talk, first Sports Talk of 2022. If you weren't with us on Friday night for the last Sports Talk of 2021, we wish you a happy new year and welcome into Sports Talk for 2022. It's going to be a great year. I feel it. I feel it in my bones. I feel it in my teeny weeny little gut. It's going to be a great year, Chris Bergen. It's going to be a great year, Pat Daniel. Going to be a great year, Matt Smith. We're all happy to be here and part of the sports landscape, a small part, a teeny part, but a loud part of the sports landscape in South Carolina. Hope you had a great holiday weekend and things are back to normal. I tell you what, it took me several hours to just sort of get back in the groove, get the office back reorganized, put all the receipts away, a lot of those, and just get rolling. And boy, what a day it has been. A lot of stuff going on. Hit you up with some of the top news stories of the day coming up. I guess we'll talk a lot about Georgia, Alabama. Here we go again. But
Yay.
it's probably right. It's probably right. They are probably the two best teams in the country. I think it's probably right. Yeah. And let me also mention, too, of course, the other big news in college football late this afternoon is that Oklahoma quarterback Caleb Williams has put his name into the transfer portal, John, though he says staying at Oklahoma is still a primary consideration among everything else that he will look at. So we're going to talk about all that, Gamecocks and Tigers. Basketball, today's the day I start being interested in college basketball. I know you've been interested for a while, Chris, because you've got the play-by-play of Coastal, and they're having a good year. But now I finally start paying attention. We got South Carolina, Auburn tomorrow night. Auburn's ranked number 9. Got a great club, They've won 9 in a row coming in. And South Carolina's not half bad, and they're healthy. They got everybody ready to go, according to Frank Martin, including Jermaine Couisnard, A.J. Wilson. Should be a good one at the CLA at 6:30. Tomorrow night at 9 o'clock, Clemson and Virginia in a rematch of a game. Well, the last game Clemson played was in Charlottesville. Of course, they had that one game against Duke postponed. Tigers won that game by 15. Virginia beat Syracuse last time out, and so they meet again. 9 o'clock tomorrow night at Littlejohn. So we got all that going on, Chris. So much to talk about. And let's begin with, Alabama, Georgia. Probably the two best teams in the country. We didn't need lousy semifinals once again to get us to this point. And here we go. SEC is going to reign supreme again over the land.
Saw earlier today on ESPN some of their talking heads chatting about, believe it or not, why expansion is a bad idea. And they were blaming the semifinals. And Phil, it's rinse, wash, rinse, and repeat, because this is what we see every year now in the semifinals. They have been just awful games. And I'm kind of going back to the point you brought up late last week, if our listeners weren't around because of the holidays, about possibly just going back to somewhat of the BCS. Go through the bowl games and then determine who you believe are the best two teams. And I think after we went through the bowl games, we would have gotten, without the need for a college football playoff, we would have come down to the conclusion that Georgia and Alabama are the best two teams in the country. We didn't need to see them blow out Cincinnati and blow out Michigan to prove that to us. And it's just unfortunate. There's so much buildup now for the college football playoff, and the semifinals have just been rotten. There's just absolutely no other way to frame this. If you watched NFL playoff action leading up to the Super Bowl, and every game through wild card weekend to the divisional round to the championship round were all blowout games, how interesting would the NFL playoffs be?
Not very. But you don't get that in the NFL. NFL playoffs, usually, and I like to go back and compare, NFL playoffs, early round games are usually dynamic.
They are.
And I mean, it's drama after drama after drama. And I think we have enough of uh, enough evidence, to look at what's been going on with college football to conclude that expanding the playoffs is not going to make it any better. We've been saying that from the get. Of course, I was against the playoffs to begin with, and now I'm happy to see that Nick Saban has the same mindset. He was asked that today, and he said expanding the playoffs are not going to make the playoffs any better. I mean, because typically by the end of a football season, you've got 2, maybe 3 teams that are clear cut better than everybody else. All right, so somebody's going to get their feelings hurt. Okay, well, that's the way of the world. Um, Live with it. But to continue to expand and add more is not going to make for a better product. And so that's just one of the things. I mean, the other big talking point over the weekend that kind of spoiled the fun of watching the bowl games was the opt-out option, or as I like to call it, quitting on your team option. And of course, we saw what happened to Matt Corral and the injury he suffered. Unfortunate, not a reason, in my opinion, to argue for players quitting on their team and breaking their scholarship to not play in a bowl game. I happen to believe, my personal belief is, when you sign up to play a season for a team, you play it all the way through unless you are hurt at some point during the season. And it's unfortunate that Matt Corral got hurt, but he got hurt for the right reason. He was trying to help his team win a Sugar Bowl, okay? And that was all that he cared about. So kudos to him for that. I was, I guess for those Ohio State kids, I mean, what a ball game the Rose Bowl was. And I feel good for those kids who won, despite the fact so many of their key players quit on them. I guess they showed them that we didn't need you to begin with. And, I think that's a very big check mark for the culture at Ohio State and the heart that those players showed coming back from a huge margin against Utah. And that was a great ball game. We had a lot of, the thing is, Chris, the semifinals stink, but usually the New Year's Day games are pretty good. We get good matchups on New Year's Day, but the playoffs, the semifinals are just a blowout, one after the other.
And here's the other issue I have with the current setup of the bowl situation with regards to the playoffs being mixed into the bowls. Why aren't the playoffs the last thing before you go into the national championship game? Why do we have the playoffs on New Year's Eve and then have a full day of New Year's Day games? And then we actually have one more bowl game tomorrow. What is it? LSU and
Kansas State.
Kansas State. Yeah, the Texas Bowl. And then we get to the national championship game. It seems like we're doing this all backwards, because it seems like to me the college football playoff, if that is the be all end all, and that's the reason these kids opt out of games because they're not participating in the playoffs, then why shouldn't it stand alone and be the final leg, the final 3 games that we have of the season? I've never quite understood why they want to say, I get it, you want to be on New Year's Eve, but college football is New Year's Day. That was the bowl games. Why not have, and I guess the Rose Bowl probably sitting where it is has a lot to say about that.
Absolutely. That was the main reason. The Rose Bowl would not, of course, move off of New Year's Day, and they weren't in the semifinal rotation this year. And so the Rose Bowl's deal is, well, if we're not in the semifinal rotation, then we will play at 5:00 on New Year's Day. That's our slot, and we're not changing. And they have the power and the money to do that. And you know what I say? Good for you. Way to go, Rose Bowl. Stick with your traditions and do what you do. I think that's great. And anything to disrupt the playoff system, I'm all for, to be honest with you, because it's a joke. And then you had, of course, you don't want to play head-to-head with the NFL on Sunday or on Monday night. You're not going to play a Monday afternoon game when everybody's gone back to work. So I guess Tuesday, I guess it's a night game, Tuesday night. I guess Tuesday night was the only other time available to put that game on the schedule, unless you played it earlier in the bowl season. So I don't, I can't really answer that. Why drag it out beyond the semifinals? I hear what you're saying. The semifinals should have been after the main bowl games, and then you play the championship game. So I guess they figured, and I haven't seen the television ratings. I guess they figured capture New Year's Eve and New Year's Day with college football.
And I think that probably is a good plan. And my guess is the ratings are probably still fine, though, if you would track them through the first 2 quarters of both games and then the third and fourth quarters, especially the Georgia-Michigan game. How many people outside of the state of Georgia were actually watching third and fourth quarter of that on New Year's Eve? My guess is everybody had tuned out and they were looking for something else to do, like watch the ball drop. The only reason I stayed even close to being interested in it, outside of it being our jobs here, was I was curious, was Michigan actually going to be able to move the ball and score on the Georgia defense? I mean, it proved to me that we've talked this for many, many years about SEC speed and how much different it is when you actually see it up close and personal. And Georgia's team speed was just light years better than Michigan's. And this is a Michigan team that is having one of its best seasons in decades, blew out Ohio State. What would have happened had Ohio State gotten into playoffs, considering what Georgia did to the champions of the Big Ten?
Interesting you mentioned the speed, because in the Rose Bowl, where the Pac-10, 8, 12, whatever it happened to be at that particular time, they dominated the Big Ten for the most part because of the speed on the West Coast. They had those great athletes, and typically they had better overall speed than whoever it was coming out of the Big Ten, typically Michigan, Ohio State, occasionally an Iowa, a Michigan State from time to time. So, yeah, you touched on a good point there with Georgia's speed. And now we get the rematch, Georgia and Alabama. I got to believe Georgia's going to play a heck of a lot better than they played in the SEC championship game. Stetson Bennett, as I apologized the other night, watching him play the way he did, he was fantastic. And he looked like a world beater. And if he plays like that again in the national championship game, then we'll have a really good game. Alabama's a 3.5-point favorite right now. And I think that's because Alabama, with that running game going now, and Nick Saban came out with a fabulous offensive game plan, and that was to run the football. And they got behind Robinson. He rushed for over 200 yards. Run the football. You know what Bryce Young can do. They are down a receiver in Mechie, of course, who was injured and is out for the season, but they still have other capable receivers, but don't have to put everything on your running game, and you got the great defense to boot. So both of these teams can run the football. Who's going to run it better against the other is going to be, I think, the key to who's going to win the national championship this time around.
That being said as well, who do you trust more at quarterback, though, in a national championship game? A freshman who won the Heisman in Bryce Young, or Stetson Bennett?
Yeah, it's a good question. Hey, listen, Stetson Bennett
I'm going to lean on Bryce Young.
Stetson Bennett won my admiration after playing so poorly in the SEC championship game, and I thought maybe they are even going to change quarterbacks, and I wasn't alone there. There was a lot of discussion in the Georgia media areas about that, but they stuck with him. And I mean, he threw dimes. He threw dime after dime. He was on target, on time, and ran a great offensive game. They had a really good mix between their running game and their passing game. So they did a fantastic job. All right.
And let me back up real quick. Bryce Young, a sophomore. He's well.
Yeah, but I mean, he didn't play much last year.
He plays like a freshman. Yeah. In terms of playing time, but he plays like a senior, actually.
All right, our phone number is 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number since 2002. More than $999 million in lottery proceeds have been used to support K through 12 programs in South Carolina. Learn more about the South Carolina Education Lottery's impact at sceducation.com/education wins. Playing for fun is a win for education. South Carolina got good news today. Brad Johnson is coming back for another year. Zach Pickens is coming back for another year. Clemson got good news, and KJ Henry is coming back for another year, but they are losing Todd Bates to Oklahoma. He's going there to be the co-defensive coordinator after they had given him a title of assistant head coach and a raise at Clemson. We got to talk about that after the break and your phone calls.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
We've got Major Billy Downer with us here from the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer, hunting season is upon us. How do we stay safe in a field?
There are 3 rules that every hunter should follow when they're hunting with a firearm. Number 1, treat every firearm due to respect a loaded gun. If you treat your firearm as if it's loaded, you'll always, number 2, keep that muzzle pointed in a safe direction. And number 3, when you decide to pull the trigger, make sure of your target, identify it, and know what's beyond it in case you miss.
And remember, life's better outdoors. Visit dnr.sc.gov for more.
All South Carolinians aged 5 years and older are now eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. For help finding a vaccine location in your area, visit scdhec.gov/vaxlocator or call 1-866-365-8110. COVID-19 vaccines are free and don't require ID or insurance. Visit scdhec.gov/vaxlocator or call 1-866-365-8110 to find a vaccine location near you.
Been informed by a listener, and I didn't notice this, the line is actually switched to Georgia, favored by 3. Opened at Alabama 1. Then I thought I saw Alabama up 3.5, but now Georgia is favored by 3. So
wow,
don't know what's swinging the money back and forth, but it's a swinging, that's for sure.
Bryce Young didn't opt out, did he?
Not that I'm aware of. All right, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. And USC women remain number 1 in the rankings this week after winning over Mississippi State last night, despite losing to Missouri earlier in the week. So they remain number 1. And,
I think they should have, Phil. Look back, nobody's got a better resume than they have. And 2 other teams behind them in the top 5, they've already beaten. I mean, I guess you could make an argument for Louisville, but outside of them, I think South Carolina still is the best team in the country.
All right, to the phones we go. Hank in Columbia. Good to have you with us. Hope you had a happy new year, and welcome into Sports Talk for 2022.
Good morning. Good evening, Phil.
Come on, Hank, catch up with the clock.
Well, yeah, I'm calling it. I was just listening to the show and trying to enjoy it, but then you got on your soapbox about these kids that opted out, and at least I'll get for you. Your consistent thing has always been the kids, I guess, finishing the season and honoring the scholarship. So I actually give you that. Now, I didn't enjoy the thing with Herb Street talking about where the kids don't love the game because they opted out. Because I know the type of money he gets paid, the jet set all over the place. And I think if somebody told him to fly from California to Miami, and said, but we just want you to do for the love of it, he ain't doing it.
Yeah.
So,
well, he also, of course, like so many of these national talking heads, and they drive me crazy, just like Dennis Dodd got on his hands and knees and begged Shane Beamer for forgiveness. I don't know that for a fact. I'm making that up. But he did tweet out, and I would never do this. I mean, why do people have to tell everybody everything they do thinking that everybody cares? He had to go on Twitter and let everybody know that he called Shane Beamer to make up and to kiss up so that I guess Shane will talk to him in the future, because Shane blasted it pretty good. That was a deep cut. And then you got Herb Street, who made a very powerful, opinionated comment, and then he goes and apologizes for it an hour later. Weak. Very weak.
Well, you gotta think about it though, Corn, though.
No, you don't.
That comment is condescending as anything in the world when you talk about the money they get paid just to call the game and talk about football. Telling these guys, some of these players that opt out, I think there's a couple of reasons why it happens, and people still refuse to understand it. Years ago, Years ago, you had to win 8 games to get to a bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Corn?
Yes, sir.
I mean, you had to, and then even with that, some people got squeezed out because there was about 15 or 20 bowls, and that was it. But now, when you have, as soon as you hit that 600 or 500 threshold, you're going to a bowl. Well, almost every kid now seems like in their college time has played in a bowl game by the time they become seniors. They played in most of them have played in multiple ones. And then,
but listen to me. The only reason we have this, the only reason, is because ESPN created all these bowls. I mean, the Myrtle Beach Bowl, the Bahama Bowl, the Gasparillo Bowl, whatever you want to call it. They're all ESPN produced, owned, directed, slotted, because there's no better programming for ESPN after the Army-Navy game for a month than college football bowl games. And so what we've done, of course, is we've watered down the product. I mean, look, those football players who grew up, those football players who grew up in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, realizing that if they didn't get to 8 wins in a 10-game schedule, maybe then eventually 11, and they weren't going to qualify for a bowl game, hey, they played the games. They had the best season they could. They didn't make it. They went home. But those who did make it were special, and the games were special. Now the games are a joke. I mean, you know.
But that's why.
And every 6 and 6 team, including every 6 and 6 team, including South Carolina, okay, they won their bowl game, and they think they've captured the world. Okay, maybe.
But why? How can you fault?
How can you fault
the kids? No, how can you fault the kids for opting out?
Well, because I don't think you quit on your team.
But look at this, Corn.
That's not your decision. That when you sign up to be part of a team and to play for the team, the way I learned, maybe you didn't, but the way I learned is you play with the team to the end, till the season is over. And the school commits to you. The school commits to you to educate you, clothe you, feed you, transport you, heal you for an entire year. Am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong. You tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Am I wrong?
They do commit to that. They do commit to that. But Corn, but if you're talking about kids, if you're going to say kids, as you're saying, kids, all right, look at the bowl games this year. How many bowl games did we see this year? Well, the coach that was coaching wasn't even the coach that started with the team.
I give you that, but I do not put coaches and kids on the same level. They signed a contract. Yes,
they signed a contract.
When they break it, they pay the school.
They get half of the money.
There's a thing called a buyout, and if you break your contract, you're going to pay the school. They can hold you to it. They might not pay. Maybe the school that's hiring them is going to pay it, but somebody's going to pay it. So I don't look at the two as the same. That's part of the problem. People want to put the player and the coach on the same level. And that's why you got the chaos you've got today, because actually the players are ruling the game.
But hold up, shouldn't the coaches be held to a higher standard if we're viewing them as the adults in the room and the students as the kids? Shouldn't they have a higher standard than these student athletes?
Well, I mean, they have a standard, and you're expected to live up to your contract, but they're in the business world of college football.
Also, a moment ago, you said that they made a commitment through the end of the year, but the semester's over by the time they're in bowl games.
Let me finish.
So they actually did honor their commitment.
No, the commitment ends when your schedule ends.
The semester's over, though. No, a moment ago, you said the school made a commitment to them.
Don't play wordsmith with me here. You know I meant to the end of the schedule.
The semester's over. They have fulfilled their commitment.
You know, I meant to the end. You know what? Okay, of course, I was going to say look at the NFL, but then Antonio Brown proves me wrong about that yesterday. I mean, he flat out quit on his team in the middle of a ball game, and we got to go. Thank you, Hank. I was going to say you wouldn't see that in the NFL, Chris, but dadgum, we saw it yesterday.
We sure did, and Antonio Brown has a job no longer because of that. But I do have a solution, maybe, that we can get to after the break. Instead of the tail wagging the dog, maybe it is finally time for the dog to wag the tail.
That'd be nice. There is an NCAA convention coming up later on this month. Be nice to see somebody, in an organizational leadership way, sort of stand up and say, this can't continue for the good of the sport moving forward. Be right back.
The Dennis Prager Show, weekdays at noon, right here on The Point. Take time for a visit to PragerU. We'll tackle today's issues, interview intriguing newsmakers, do some teaching and some learning together on 100.7 The Point and make thepointradio.com.
While my friends and relatives up north hate winter, we have it pretty good down here. I mean, for the most part, we can enjoy being outside most of the year, no matter what season it is. That's why I like to brag about Mint Landscapes. They did the hardscaping outside my home. It looks just incredible. If you've thought about getting some work done, an awesome fire pit, some beautiful pavers, the outdoor lighting, or that retaining wall, get the work done now so you can enjoy it when spring and summer arrive. Online, it's mintlandscapessc.com or call Mint Landscapes now, 629-2924.
Hey, I'm State Representative Chris Wooten.
And I'm State Representative Micah Cassidy.
Join us on Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. on The Rep.
We'll talk about everything that's happening at the State House and give you an insider's perspective.
All from the General Assembly. So join us at 9 a.m. on The Point, 100.7 FM or 1470 a.m.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. Starbucks says its U.S. workers must be fully vaccinated by February 9th or else face a weekly COVID testing requirement. Seattle-based coffee giant says it's acting in response to OSHA, which issued a vaccine or test requirement for companies with more than 100 employees last November. That requirement upheld by a U.S. Court of Appeals last month. The United States is expanding COVID boosters as it confronts the Omicron surge. FDA allowing extra Pfizer shots for children as young as 12. Boosters already are recommended for anyone 16 and older. Winter storm packing heavy snow, closing government offices and schools in the nation's capital. Monday storm dumping anywhere from 8 to 12 inches of snow. This is SRN News.
Now.
Hi, this is Taylor Metz.
And this is Roger Metz, your hosts of Woods and Water, South Carolina.
The time around Christmas and New Year's is one of our favorites to get outside together. No schedule, no stress, just go see what's out there.
Crisp mornings and cold nights that make you catch your breath, but there are lots of companies that make clothes for that, so there's no excuse for staying inside.
We hope you'll take some time this holiday season to get out there and discover the outdoors and take someone with you to share the adventure.
We invite you to listen to Woods and Water, South Carolina in 2022 as we bring the outdoors to you every Saturday afternoon.
Right here on our home in the Midlands, 100.7 The Point.
Merry Christmas.
And Happy New Year.
Everyone knows that here at The Point, we are all about supporting local businesses. We are all about local, local, local. You cannot get more local than my friend Greg McCoy and his business, Simplified Mortgage Solutions. Fran Halloran here. If you're buying a home or you're looking to refinance your current home, you owe it to yourself to call Greg. He is the real deal. You can expect Greg to treat you like you are his only client. You can expect Greg to scour the market to find you the best rate available. You can expect Greg to charge you a fair price for his work and his service. Why would you deal with some national company headquartered in who knows where when you can do business with Greg? Need further persuasion? Okay, I didn't even mention the good Greg does in our community by supporting local charities like Blue Star Mothers and Camp Chemo. Come on, you need to call Greg. Online at simplifiedmortgagesc.com, or you can call Greg at 803-722-6044. That's 722-6044.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and models.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
If you're like me, you're sick and tired of seeing these old TV stars, game show hosts, these athletes telling you how to save money on your Medicare and on your health insurance. These national toll-free numbers are overwhelming us. It's not that people don't need the service. They need good local customer service, not big box toll-free numbers. See, I work directly with Tim Hanberry right here at Medicare Blueprint in the Midlands. When it comes to my family, I want the best family plan. I'm not even on Medicare, but my mom is. So here's what I do want. Someone local to serve as my advisor on the plans and choices that I have, and someone to help mom with her Medicare. I want someone to help me pick the right plan, save me as much money as possible by knowing all the rules of the game. Medicare Blueprint starts the process with you. They will see it through. They answer all your questions. They call you back. It's the same folks helping you start to finish. Tim and his team are independent. They fight for you, not the insurance company. Online, it's MedicareBlueprint.com or call them 708-7398.
We're back on Sports Talk here on a Monday night, first show of 2022. Glad you're with us. 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. Get back to your phone calls in a moment. We've got some recruiting news coming up for you as well. But something new here in 22 on Sports Talk. The Founders Federal Notebook here on Sports Talk, where we update you on some of the top stories of the day from both here in the Palmetto State and around the region. Things that are important to us. So let me run through the Founders Federal Notebook for this Monday night. We mentioned that South Carolina's got Brad Johnson coming back, Zach Pickens coming back. E.J. Jenkins tweeted out something today that certainly appears as if he's coming back, applying pressure 2022. So it looks like he's coming back as well. KJ Henry's headed back to Clemson. That's good. Todd Bates is leaving Clemson to go to Oklahoma to be the co-defensive coordinator at Oklahoma. That's bad for Clemson. We'll talk about that coming up in just a few moments. Oklahoma actually – and then you had the story from Oklahoma that their star quarterback, Caleb Williams, is in the transfer portal, John. In Oklahoma, the AD actually put out a statement. I've never seen this before. He put out a statement saying that we've done everything and we can, this is the best place for him to be, but we respect his decision to want to look around and the commitment to the student athlete and all this, that, and the other about why Oklahoma is a great place. And a very, very interesting take here by Oklahoma. I wonder, Caleb Williams, his father came out and said they're looking for where he can be best developed for the NFL. Well, I mean, they just hired a fantastic offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach in Jeff Lebby. And look what he did at Ole Miss with Corral there. Why wouldn't you look at that and say this guy can coach? But anyway, he's looking around.
Going to SC. I mean, he's going to Southern Cal. It's fairly obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Keaton Slovis is transferring to Pittsburgh. His head coach at Oklahoma is now the new head coach at Southern California. I don't think it takes you don't need a roadmap to figure out where this is going to end. He's going to end up in Los Angeles as the starting quarterback for the Trojans next year. But still, how do you leave Oklahoma?
Yeah. And I wonder,
thing.
Again, here comes NIL into play. I wonder how much NIL money is being promised from people at Oklahoma for him to stay. You say Southern Cal, how much are they promising out there in terms of the money that can be made through these NIL operations? Former USC running backs coach, former Furman wide receiver, Des Kitchings is leaving the Atlanta Falcons as the running back coach and headed to Virginia as the offensive coordinator. And let's see, what else did I want to mention to you? The AP women's basketball poll out today. South Carolina remains number one after getting a win yesterday, a solid win at home over Mississippi State after losing in overtime at Missouri. The Gamecocks are number one, followed by Stanford, Louisville. Then it's Arizona, NC State. Then it is Indiana, Tennessee, Michigan, Texas, and Maryland. That's your top 10 for the women. So Dawn Staley and company, didn't suffer from that standpoint when it comes to the loss at Missouri the other night. I think people respected the fact that they lost in overtime on the road and then turned around and beat a good Mississippi State team at home and beat them pretty soundly to hang on to the top spot. The men's ranking for the week, Baylor. Boy, what a year they're having. Football, basketball. Baylor's number 1, followed by Duke, Purdue, Gonzaga, UCLA, Kansas, Southern Cal, Arizona, Auburn, and Michigan States. All right, those are some notes, and we'll drop in others. Tonight we'll have recruiting later on, but that is our Founders Federal Credit Union notebook tonight here on Sports Talk.
Got one more to add here, actually, for you, Corn. I'm just seeing across the wire. North Carolina has lost a 5th player to the NFL draft. Offensive lineman Joshua Ezwedu has officially announced his decision to enter the draft, joining quarterback Sam Howell, Kyler McMichael, and 2 other offensive linemen in Marcus McKeithen and Jordan Tucker. So that's now 5 players departing. So Coach Beamer and the Gamecocks really did a number on UNC. They can't wait to get out of Chapel Hill.
And McMichael's a former Tiger. Remember, he started his career at Clemson.
That's right. That's right. And it looks like Ezwedu is a Lawrenceville, Georgia native, which I think we've heard of a few players, both Carolina and Clemson, from the Lawrenceville area. So
and he better hope that the NFL scouts did not watch that game against the Gamecocks, because that offensive line was terrible.
Yes.
I don't know that he's improving his stock
Great
with
point.
that game at the Duke's Mayo Bowl.
All right, 888-898-2525. Let's get back to your phone calls on this Monday night. We go next to Keith in Camden. Keith, Happy New Year to you. Welcome to 2022 on Sports Talk. Good to have you with us.
Happy New Year to y'all also. Phil, what can be done? I mean, year in, year out, we see consistently there's 5 teams that are way above everybody else. And it's almost to the point that it's getting boring. What, from a scholarship standpoint, what can be done to kind of even the playing field, if anything can be done? What's your thoughts on that?
I think that the worst thing that ever happened for recruiting is the playoffs, because now you've got 2 teams, 4 teams, maybe 5 teams that have been in the rotation, maybe even 6, let's say.
Yeah,
but I mean, those are the ones, those are the schools that are able to go repeatedly and entice the best players in the country to visit and then eventually sign with them. If you go back to the previous setup where the actual bowl games of New Year's Day and maybe New Year's Eve, maybe you lump New Year's Eve, New Year's Day together, 6 bowl games, 12 teams. Now you got 12 teams, but among those 12 teams on a given year, you might switch some out to where you've expanded it to maybe 14, 15, 16 different teams over a period of 2 or 3 years, get a taste of New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, where from there you've got a chance to move to a national championship game. Now you've got more teams involved, and I know what people are saying, well, just expand the playoffs. Then you'll have 16 teams with a chance in the playoffs and 16 teams that can recruit and say, look, we're in the playoffs. But I think that based on what we've seen so far of the college football playoff structure and how bad the semifinals have been year in and year out, with a rare exception, you're just not going to have good games in a playoff structure. You might have good games in the opening round, but by the time they move up to where they're playing the top 2 or 3 teams, then I think you're headed for blowout city until you get to the top 2 teams advancing inevitably to the national championship game. So again, you're going to have controversy. There are going to be people left out that think they should be playing for it, but I think you play your bowl games like we did in the old days, the good old days. You play your bowl games New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, and you pick your 2 best teams from there, let them play in a championship game, and be done with it. Simple as that.
Still, now that the genie's out of the bottle, they're not going to go back, and it's all about money. But
I've heard people say you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, but I've actually done that. I've actually practiced it, and I have created a way to put the toothpaste back in the tube. I'll show you how to do that one day.
I believe you. I believe you. But each passing year, it just seems like that the game is getting diluted, and it's just frustrating for a sport that you're passionate about, and so many of us are. But it's just, it's just the same old thing.
Well, I hate to see. Chris and I talked about this morning, and I promised him I wasn't going to go down this road, and I'm trying not to.
Pat, get the dump button ready.
I'm trying to accept the new era of the way things are, as bad as it is, and it's going to be, as bad as it is and as bad as it's going to be. I'm trying to live with it and rock and roll with it. But, I just think we're watching a great thing slowly die in front of us unless somebody does something, because you can't let the players have this much freedom. You can't have this lack of control over every important aspect of the sport, like college football and even college basketball. We were talking to Frank Martin today on a conference call, and he was asked at the end about the NCAA convention coming up this month and what he would like to see done related to college basketball. And he said, the worst thing that's happened to college basketball is the one and done. It's the only sport where you have the one and done situation.
And he's right.
Exactly. And he said, college basketball's got to be its own entity. He'd like to see college basketball have its own leadership, its own structure, its own rules, separate from the other sports. And then they can decide what's best for college basketball and move forward. So let's see what comes out of this convention later on in January. Maybe some wise people will rise up and show people a better way. There's got to be a better way, if you ask me. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. And see what else is happening too is with the this NIL deal. Now, Chris, we've opened it up wide open to where everybody can get their hands on football players or basketball players legally. You want to say it's you. Say you want to help Coastal Carolina get a player. You can go through the NIL process, contact that player, and say, hey, man, come to Coastal Carolina. I'll pay you, $5,000 a semester. All you got to do is, if you had a car dealership, all you got to do is come to my car dealership on one Saturday and shake hands, whatever the case may be. And you know what? That's that. But I'm saying it could be anybody. It could be 10 people. It could be 50 people. It could be 100 people. I'm not saying you're bad people. You're good people. You got money that you want to burn to help your team acquire players. I mean, the rules allow it. It's your choice. So be it. But the problem is the more people who get involved, the more likelihood you're going to have corruption and you're going to have issues, somewhere down the road. So now let's just use South Carolina as an example, since it's an easy example to use. So now with NIL, and NIL is everywhere. It's not just South Carolina. I could use Clemson and IPTAY or Georgia and the Bulldog Club, whatever the case may be. So now, and here's the thing about the schools and the NCAA, Chris. They can sit back and let the fans take care of this for them. Mm-hmm. They don't have to fund it, So now you're asked to be a member of the Gamecock Club or IPTAY to pay your money, whatever it costs to pay your money to do that. Then you have to pay a fee to have the right to buy season tickets, right? So they have like that seat licensing thing still where you got to pay a fee that gives you the right to buy the season ticket. Then you have to pay for the season ticket. And if you want to have a suite or you want to have a box seat or an executive suite, you got to pay more for that.
And you want to park close to the stadium, you got to pay more for that.
Well, and now they are going to ask you, the fan, to put your money into NIL so that we can show these players that we're serious about winning football. And if you come here, we can promise you you're going to have this amount of money available for you to go to this business or to be interviewed by this website. And we're going to put money directly in your pocket. It's all legal. Oh, yeah, it's not supposed to be about recruiting, right? It's all legal. And because the Supreme Court and the state of South Carolina says it is legal, and you can do it. But we want you, the fan, to pick up the ticket for us. I mean, that would be the equivalent of the Panthers going to their fans and saying, yeah, we need a new right tackle, and we got to pay him $1.5 million, and we'd like you to contribute to our fund here to help pay. See what I'm saying? But that's where it's headed, and that's what we're going to have to live with. We're going to have to understand that these are professional college athletes, PCAs. They're professional college athletes. Though I did find it interesting, I saw a story in the AP that said the average NIL payment, this is across the board for college football this year, the average that a player is making is $250. I mean, you got some exorbitant cases. Bryce Young got $1 million deal. Was it Ewers at Ohio State got $1 million? You got some big deals out there, but the average is $250. They were making more. They were making more off the stipend the NCAA was giving them. If you needed more money, you could get a Pell Grant or other type of financial aid. You're making more money that way than you're making off the NIL.
When you say average, are we talking FBS, FCS, Division II? How stretched did that go?
I'd have to go back and look at the story. I think it was on the FBS level.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they expect Division II, Division III, or FCS players to get much out of that deal.
No, I will say they may have to rework that if they're not calculating in the FCS programs, especially what Deion Sanders is doing down at Jackson State.
True.
They have to start utilizing them as well.
All right, hit the break here. We'll come back with more of your phone calls. 888-898-2525 is our number. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. We'll continue with your phone calls. We'll be wide open for your calls as long as they roll into us here on Sports Talk. And we've got some college basketball we'll be checking on tonight for South Carolina tomorrow at home against Auburn. SEC opener for both teams. And Clemson at home to play Virginia tomorrow night. I'll be up at Little John for that. Smitty be covering the Gamecocks tomorrow night. Back after this break and more of your phone calls.
Touchstone Energy Cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
Parents ask, what's the best way to save for college? I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and my answer is always open a Future Scholar 529 college savings account. It's easy. You can get started online with any amount. It's flexible to adapt to your child's college dreams. And you can deduct 100% of your contributions from the South Carolina state tax return. So what are you waiting for? Go to futurescholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. futurescholar.com.
Relax on and off the field with Founders Federal Credit Union. With services like Founders Online and the Founders app, you'll enjoy all the perks of a big bank with local personalized service. If you're looking for low rates, look to Founders. Not a member? Joining Founders Federal Credit Union is easy. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our more than 30 office locations to see if you qualify for membership. Services require credit evaluation. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
Get back to your phone calls here on Sports Talk. 888-898-2525 is the number. We head to Tom in Sumter with us next here on Sports Talk. Tom, welcome in. How are you?
Thank you. It's not what I called in, but I heard you arguing earlier about the players and coaches. But your premise was they quit on the team, and that's wrong. But aren't coaches part of the team as well?
Yes, and I think it's wrong when that happens too. I'm not giving them a free pass. The only thing I'm saying is that a coach under contract, if he leaves for another job, He has to pay a buyout. There's a buyout in his contract. Usually there's a buyout that works both ways, and there is a penalty. So he does pay a penalty financially for breaking his contract and going somewhere else.
So you would say Brett Venables and Tony Elliott, and they quit on their team?
Yes, they did.
Okay. All right. Well, I just don't hear as much of a anger coming out of you for those guys as I do the players. That's not what I called. Something must be going on at Clemson. You know, for the longest time, none of the assistants went anywhere, and then bang, all of a sudden, they're all gone. Is there something that's going on that we don't know about? I don't know whether they think that, you know, Clemson's not going to be who they were anytime soon, so now they need to cash in, or is something, you know, is there something going on between the staff and Dabo now? Is there reason to think that there might be something going on at Clemson that is causing these assistants to leave more than what we hear?
Yeah.
That's my question.
Good question. Let me finish up going back to your comment or your question about coaches leaving. Thank you for calling. Yeah, they quit on their team. I mean, you can't call it anything else. They quit on their team to go take another job. But they are, in my world, in my way of looking at it, there's a difference between a coach who's a professional, who's getting paid as an employer of a school, as an employee of a school, getting paid in his profession, and the players in college who are supposed to be students, not employees, not getting paid other than their scholarships up to this point. And the scholarship is a form of payment to them, and you sign a contract for that. And by doing so, you commit for the season for that year. And if the scholarships, I guess, are 4 years, you know, supposedly you commit for the entire term. Same thing with a coach when he signs a contract. But I think it's understood that a coach leaves for another job to make more money, to go from being a coordinator to become a head coach. I mean, that's a natural thing in the coaching business. Are they quitting on their team? Well, certainly. There was no other way to put it. But I think that is understood. When Kenny Pickett quit on Pittsburgh for the purpose of preparing for the NFL draft, okay, he wasn't taking another job to go to work somewhere else. He was quitting on his team to so-called prepare for the NFL draft while his teammates were practicing for the bowl game and then playing in the bowl game. By the way, he was at the bowl game up in the press box with the coaches with a headset on for some reason. So I don't think it's the same thing. It's both quitting, but I think one is a little more, in my opinion, a little more understandable because you're a professional guy. You're getting you're looking to improve yourself in your profession, and you get that opportunity. Just like these players eventually hope to become professionals in the NFL and then improve their stock when their contracts run out with their current teams, you know, and they become free agents, they can go somewhere else. But they have to, unless you're, you know, AB, you have to respect your contract and play it out unless they cut you or they trade you. So I see a distinct difference between the two. As far as what's happening up at Clemson, Chris, it is very interesting that now they lose Todd Bates, their defensive line coach, who had been given a promotion at Clemson, had been named the assistant head coach, had been given a raise, been given more power, authority, I guess, but maybe, I don't know, can't speak for him. He's getting a chance to be the co-defensive coordinator at Oklahoma. Does he feel slighted because he was passed over for an analyst who was promoted to a defensive coordinator, and Mickey Conn was made the co-defensive coordinator? Did he take that as a slight, and he sees this as a better move for him for his coaching career?
You know, and that's one thing I have long believed was the reason Clemson was able to build the dynasty that they presently have, Phil, because of the stability in the coaching staff. And we're seeing turnover up there like we've never seen before. And I think it's somewhat understandable that Todd Bates may have felt a bit slighted and said, you know what, I'm not going to be the defensive coordinator here. Let me go work with a guy I've worked with before, and he's going to give me that shot at Oklahoma. And I think as much as you lose his ability to coach on the field, the bigger loss is going to be recruiting. Todd Bates brought in some tremendous players into that Clemson program, especially on the defensive side, and that's a huge loss for the Tigers.
No question about it. He got this new position at Clemson when these other changes occurred, and I think Dabo Swinney probably thought he had him locked down. Couldn't see this one coming, I bet you. We'll be back after the top of the hour break.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Jason Walker. Between the pandemic and rough weather in several parts of the nation, getting from point A to point B is trouble, sometimes big trouble.
We are having a series of problems that result in cascading delays and cancellations, making air travel right now an exercise in frustration.
Travel industry analyst Henry Hartfeld, more than 2,600 flights and 43 worldwide, those 2,600 in the U.S., grounded today. Thousands more were able to take off, but in most cases, they were running very late. NASA's new space telescope doing well, more than a week after liftoff following a pair of problems overcome by ground controllers. Officials say the huge sun shield on the James Webb Space Telescope is now fully open and in the process of being tightened. Also at townhall.com, President Biden following up his Russia phone call with a call to Ukraine's president. White House correspondent Greg Clugston has more on that story.
The president spoke with Ukrainian President Zelensky on Sunday, days after a 50-minute conversation with Russia's Vladimir Putin about Moscow's troop buildup near Ukraine's border. According to the White House, Mr. Biden promised Zelensky that the United States and its allies will act decisively if Russia further invades Ukraine. The two leaders conferred ahead of a series of diplomatic meetings to try to de-escalate a crisis that Putin says could rupture ties with the U.S. Greg Clugston, Washington.
After meeting with world leaders the past few days, the president today meeting virtually with independent farmers and ranchers from around the United States. They discussed initiatives to reduce food prices by increasing competition in the meat industry. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Tell me why Relief Factor is so successful in lowering or eliminating pain. I'm often asked that question. Pete and Seth Talbot, the father and son founders of Relief Factor, tell me they believe our bodies were designed to heal. The doctors who formulated Relief Factor selected the 4 best ingredients, 100% drug-free ingredients that each help your body deal with inflammation. Order the 3-week quick start now. Discount it to only $19.95 to see if it will work for you too. Call 800-500-8384. ReliefFactor.com.
Cultural Marxism is spreading like wildfire in America. But did you know that this so-called woke ideology is also flooding into the church?
Reparations fits into the scope of the gospel.
Watch the documentary, How the Left is Stealing Your Church, and discover how the ideology behind critical race theory and the LGBT agenda is being smuggled into the evangelical world. Stream it now for $9.99 or get the DVD for $12.99. Go to salemnow.com or look for the Salem Now app.
Lawmakers loyal to China's Communist Party were sworn in Hong Kong's legislature Monday following an election without opposition candidates.
The swearing in comes after yet another pro-democracy news outlet announced it could no longer operate amid a growing crackdown on freedoms in the territory. The former British colony that was returned to China in 1997 was once known as a haven for dissent and freedoms of the press and expression. But the central government in Beijing has clamped down in the last year.
Correspondent Jeremy House. Fast-moving Omicron variant complicating a key question. How does the COVID-19 pandemic end and the world coexist with the virus? Experts agree the virus is here to stay, nor do scientists expect Omicron to be the last mutant. But at some point, they say it will probably ease up, but we will always have the virus. Breaking news and analysis, townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Very chilly this evening with low temps dipping down to 28. Tomorrow, cold, especially early, but the sun will make it more tolerable. The high temp reaches just 49. Looking at the rest of the week, a bit warmer Wednesday and Thursday with temps reaching about 60. Friday is expected to be very cold with sunshine and a high of just 48. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
Ooh, I like when you press that one.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, we're back here on a busy Monday night. We've got recruiting coming up for you in this hour. More of your phone calls, 888-898-2525, the number, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. We go to Stephen in Columbia. Next with us here on Sports Talk. Stephen, Happy New Year. Welcome to Sports Talk 2022. Good to have you with us.
Good to talk to you, Phil. And I agree with you. I mean, this game's getting destroyed by all this greed and selfishness. You know, you talk about coaches having contracts, they have to buy out. I think there should be a buyout for your scholarship if, you know, you spend those millions of dollars on a kid's education and recruiting budget and flying his family around and health care and everything else. But anyways, Todd Bates, he came there in 17, correct?
Sounds about right.
Yep. So I can understand him feeling like he was looked over, but I believe Wes Godwin's been around the program for 10 years and he's been there 4. And, you know, the cupboard was not empty. If you talk about Christian Wilkins, Dexter, Lawrence was there before he got there, Carlos Watkins, you had, all kinds of talent on that defensive line. I think Cleveland Farrell, who's in the NFL, Austin Bryant in the NFL. It wasn't like he was the recruiting guru. Somebody got those kids there before he did. I believe it was Brooks.
Yeah, he was a heck of a coach. But Bates was too. Bates did a great job. I was just looking, you know, they gave him a new contract through 2025 when they had the last approval by the compensation committee, which that happened back in mid-December. So his contract was extended through 2025. His total compensation increased to $715,000 per season. And there's some other benefits in there as well. There's performance incentives, etc. So, in fact, he would have made with this year, he would have made about another $50,000 or $60,000. So I don't know what they're paying him at Oklahoma, but that's a pretty good contract at Clemson they gave him. And so you do wonder what it was. Was it the fact that he didn't get the title of a defensive coordinator? And he's getting a co-defensive coordinator title with Ted Roof out at Oklahoma. Maybe until he speaks, we won't know. But that's all you can kind of guess right now.
I believe he thinks Roof's older and he'll be retiring sooner, obviously, than Godwin or Goodwin. So
Goodwin,
you know, it's a business move for him.
But think about this. Think about this.
But
I mean,
don't think that he was leading the recruiting battles, because we only have one defensive tackle on our recruiting board. We poured everything into him and lost him to North Carolina, for God's sake, who has no facilities, obviously a program that's coming unraveled, and that was his one target. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, but I mean, he had his hand in helping you get some players over the last few years from like Alabama, or getting you in the door with them, and maybe some others finished it off, as I recall. But that being the case, and thank you for your phone call, Chris, Clemson's staff next year. Think about this. I mean, I know some of the guys have been around the program for a while, but
You go into the first full year next year of Brandon Streeter, first full season as offensive coordinator. Wesley Goodwin, first full season as defensive coordinator. Thomas Austin, first full season as offensive line coach. C.J. Spiller, second full season as running backs coach. Tyler Gresham, second full season for him as receivers coach, I think. Second full. And we continue to the defensive side. There'll be a new defensive line coach, new linebacker coach in Goodwin. My point is not to say they can't do the job and do it at a very high level, but it's going to be a pretty young and somewhat inexperienced Clemson staff overall, though they got experience this year. But still young and somewhat inexperienced, I would say, across the board.
And if you're Dabo Swinney, you hope hungry as well in terms of being young and willing to do whatever it takes to continue to maintain the level of excellence that Clemson has. But that's the one thing I pointed out earlier. The one thing in my mind about that program, aside from the players, it has been that constant stability in that coaching staff. And it is not the same going into next year. It'll be one of the few times in the last 15 years the Clemson fans are going to have to get out the program to see who's coaching their players, not the players, because you always knew, all right, we got offensive coordinator Tony Elliott. He's going to take care of business on that side. We've got Brent Venables handling things on the defensive side of the coin. And that's just not going to be the way it is next year. It's going to be fascinating to watch this team go through spring practice, go through the fall, get ready and run through an entire season. I don't think the drop-off is going to be considerable, but it will be interesting to see how they handle all the shifting and moving for a staff that has not had to deal with that, especially their head coach. Of course, you can also look at the other side of the coin. What's the one constant at Alabama and its coaching staff? It's turnover and change. And it's never seemed to phase them one bit. So,
yet he's always gone outside. He loses an offensive coordinator. He goes and hires a big name, right? Sarkisian, O'Brien now. And then defensively, they've been a little more stable at the defensive coordinator's job there, haven't they, over the last few years? And I'll be honest with you, I should know this. I couldn't tell you I couldn't name the DC at Alabama because you think that's all Saban's doing anyway. But the OC, he's gone outside his program and brought in new people.
And doesn't Saban, I'd have to look at his responsibilities, but isn't he like their secondary coach? Doesn't he coach DBs?
I think he does, yeah.
Or something out there?
All right, thank you. Appreciate the phone call. Good phone call. What you got, Pat? You got something? You have something on your mind?
Oh, no, it's okay. A few times we've kind of glanced past different topics, but no, all good here. What I was going to add to what you were just saying, though, was don't we think a lot of this with Clemson has to do with timing, almost like the coaching staff, the members there? Sure, we saw Jeff Scott leave a couple of years ago to go to South Florida, but nobody else left. But right now, once these coaches saw somebody else leave, they then thought, you know what, maybe now's the time to go. And so we're seeing them seize this moment, seize this opportunity where if they're going to go, I'm going to go. Let's just do a whole rebuild. It's almost like they were waiting on somebody else to make the first move. And once Brent Venables accepted the head coaching position at Oklahoma, Tony Elliott maybe felt, okay, now's the time I want to take, if it's the right opportunity, a head coaching job. And now we're seeing assistant coaches get promoted. You're seeing assistants leave and join either Tony Elliott or Brent Venables. It just seems like a lot of this has to do with timing.
I think that's a great point, too, that Pat brings up, because it's not as if Brent Venables in particular took a terrible job. I mean, he's the head coach at Oklahoma, for goodness sakes. I mean, it was that opportunity is not going to come around the block probably ever again. So for him to leave Clemson to go to Oklahoma as the head coach, I don't think you could criticize him at all. And it's not as if Tony Elliott took a bad job either. He's in the Power 5 league. He's coaching at Virginia. So Pat brings up a terrific point about timing and having opportunities that are probably better than what they had at Clemson.
All right, phone number, 888-898-2525. We continue with some great phone calls tonight. You people are off to a great start in 2022. Probably better than we are.
And by the way, Pete Golding is the defensive coordinator at Alabama.
Did you know that?
I did not. I looked it up.
Did you know that, Pat? Could you have named the Alabama DC without looking it up?
I would have had absolutely no idea. Yeah. But I want to also add to what Chris just said about Tony Elliott. It's worth noting today that he hired Falcons running back coach. What's his name?
Des Kitchings. You should listen to Sports Talk. We had that about a half hour ago.
Did we?
You should listen.
Mm.
Delvin in Fountain Inn. Happy New Year. Welcome into Sports Talk 2022. Good to have you with us.
Oh, y'all talking about the D-line coach. I think that, I think a couple names to look for is one, probably Daquan Bowers. He's young, is the energetic of USF.
Ah.
And a guy who worked with Wes Goodwin in Arizona Cardinals, Briston Butler.
Mm-hmm. Daquan Bowers. He's at South Florida, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Briston Butler, I think him and Wes Goodwin were together in Arizona. That would be a good fit. Him coming to college from the NFL level. And you want that defensive line will love that?
I like both of those suggestions. Did you call Dabo?
Nah, I don't think Dabo need to listen to me.
Well, why do you think we should listen to you if you don't think Dabo should listen to you?
I think he got 2 big national championship rings to tell me that he can do. He knows what he's doing.
Okay. Yeah, but he doesn't call 6 sports talk shows a day like you do and express your opinion. So he should listen to you.
Nah, I'm not that kind of fan who think they know everything.
Okay.
I'm like DeAndre Medellin. If you see his tweet, coaches coach, players play.
That's a good tweet. All right, Delvin, thank you very much.
Yeah, throw to my call, guys.
You got it, my man. All right, thank you.
And if they bring in Daquan Bowers, do you really want your defensive line coach being the best player on your team?
Really? Or Brinson Buckner.
Exactly.
Those are 2 really good suggestions, though. I wonder
no doubt.
Did he come up with that on his own, or did he read that on a message board somewhere? But I mean, certainly Sweeney's got some people in mind, or maybe a person in mind. I don't know that he has anybody in his organization now to step up to be that position coach, but maybe he does. Who knows? He seems to always be a little bit of a step ahead when it comes to these sort of things, kind of anticipating. I think he prides himself on having a plan and knowing that he inevitably loses a coach. He's got an idea of where he wants to go to replace that coach. All right, Delvin, thank you for the phone call. We got no college basketball in the state tonight. Charleston was supposed to play Northeastern. That game's been postponed because of the Cougars, I think, have some COVID things going on in their program. So we have no in-state basketball on the D1 level to speak of tonight. We'll come back and give you the recruiting report after this break here on Sports Talk.
Founders is offering a low-rate mortgage with up to $4,000 in closing costs to full-time hospital employees, honoring your frontline efforts against COVID-19. With no PMI, no origination fee, and no limit on the loan amount, you can't go wrong. Visit founders.com/HEC and apply for your hospital employee choice mortgage today. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply. Institution NMLS identifier number 410646. Founders is an equal housing lender and is federally insured by the NCUA.
I'm not like some whoop-de-doo executive chef. I consider myself more of a baker than a chef. I like working with my hands. I like turning regular ingredients into like something spectacular.
The South Carolina Education Lottery has funded over 450,000 life scholarships in our state, giving countless students a chance to answer their calling, just like Aaron. Your passion is our purpose.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
All right, recruiting coming up in just a moment. Hey, you know what? Feels like winter is here for a couple of days. But when it's over, it'll be time to think about the spring and the summer and get your plans together for getting away and enjoying the beach and the hot South Carolina sun. And you know what? Pawleys Island and Litchfield, and all those spots down there, they have their arms wide open just waiting for you to come and visit. Why don't you call Jimmy Smith at James Smith Realty? Let Jimmy get you in the right spot at the right price at the right time. 843-237-4246 or visit PawleysVacationRentals.com. Of course, Pawleys Island is a beautiful spot. Litchfield is equally attractive. Garden City is gorgeous. Surfside is superb. And up and down the coast, Jimmy and his staff can handle properties all up and down the coast of South Carolina. So if you're looking for something to rent or purchase, you need something small or large, they got it all for you. 843-237-4246 for your perfect beach getaway, PawleysVacationRentals.com. Now to recruiting, brought to you by Seawells. And it's a happy new year from Seawells as they are back and they have got their daily luncheon buffet up and at them once again for 2022. Definitely going to get by there this week. I missed it over the past couple of weeks. Hope you'll get out and enjoy a great lunch at Seawells every day, 11 till 2. Do we know what's on the menu for tomorrow, Pat? The Tuesday luncheon buffet at Seawells will be what?
No, and actually they have not returned yet. They come back tomorrow. They were not open today, but tomorrow, Tuesday, January 4th, will be the first day Seawells reopens to bring in 2022. But as of right now, their website does not have a menu yet for the week. So we will have that for you tomorrow.
Well, I can imagine we're looking at chicken, pork chops, eventually roast beef. Wouldn't you say?
Probably something along those lines. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. By the way, before we get into recruiting, this is no surprise because I think he had already said that he was heading on, but Jabari Ellis, South Carolina defensive tackle, is not coming back and will play, has played his final game at South Carolina. He has tweeted out within the last 5 minutes that he'll be entering the 2022 NFL draft. I thought he's a guy that really came a long way in his career, Chris.
Agreed. I think he's probably played himself into, I wouldn't say a very, very high draft slot, but I think he's played himself into, what do you think, third, fourth round, maybe higher?
Well, you know what? You play to a certain point, and then you work out to a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you go to the combine, you do the workouts, they evaluate you. But I thought he became a strong physical point in the middle of their defense as the last two seasons progressed. Didn't start off all that well. Don't think he was ready when he came out of junior college, but got bigger and stronger and more physical as his career went on.
Yeah, he's one of those stalwarts up front. He's gotten bigger, as you pointed out. I mean, they listed at 6'2", 280. Probably can play at the NFL level up near 300 pounds, assuming that he can continue to move there. So, yeah, I think the combine may be one of those. He may be one of those guys that if he sparkles at the combine could shoot up the draft board.
Absolutely. All right, now to our recruiting report tonight. And we are keeping an eye on defensive end Mason Thomas, 6'3", 225, out of Fort Lauderdale. In fact, South Carolina was on him heavily over the last year and had him in for an official visit in June. But despite the best efforts of Beamer and Clayton White and Mike Peterson, he opted to commit to Iowa State in July. But he did not sign last month, and the Gamecocks are continuing to recruit him. He says he's still kind of open, taking all his visits, but still committed to Iowa State. He said South Carolina checks in daily. Peterson hits him up, keeps in contact. He said they want him for that edge rusher. And he said they're just making sure they stay in it till the end. He visited USC unofficially with some teammates the middle of June, then returned 10 days later for his official. With a first-year head coach and new staff, he's a little unsure of the Gamecocks at that point. After watching them this season, he's a little more certain about them. He says he feels okay about them, and he's been up there twice, and he wanted to see the first season under Beamer. He said that really opened up his eyes. He is scheduled for an official to Oklahoma January 14th, and he's looking at LSU or Miami for another official this month. He's also taken one to Iowa State. He'll make his final decision within a few days of the February signing date, if not on February 2nd itself. This season, 62 tackles, 12 sacks, 18 and a half tackles for loss. Of course, we're rolling into the 22 portion of the recruiting calendar for football. It's a dead period through January 13th, except for the mid-year enrollees. Recruiting goes live again January 14th. Will stay that way through January 30th. Dead period begins on the 31st and runs the length of February. Schools will have 3 weekends in January for official visits and unofficials for underclassmen. USC transfer target, wide receiver Jacob Cowing, who is leaving UTEP, committed to Arizona tonight. USC offered safety Devontae Reed, 6 feet, 175, who just announced this morning he's transferring from Central Michigan. Native of Detroit, in 43 games. You got to like these numbers, Chris. In 43 games, 287 tackles, 3 picks, and 14 pass deflections.
Did they
I
have
mean, that's a
anybody else on
lot of
his defense?
tackles.
Good grief.
287 tackles in 43 games.
I think he made every stop they had.
Must be a good player, potentially. 2023 receiver defensive back Trey Tolliver of Lake City, Florida, plans to take an unofficial to USC January 15th. The Gamecocks are looking at a junior weekend that weekend, along with some officials. Clemson offered defensive tackle Kristen Miller of Ellenwood, Georgia last month, but did not make his cut, down to 5. Ohio State, Georgia, Oregon, Miami, and Texas A&M are those 5. Clemson offered 2022 corner Kamari Terrell, 6'1", 180 of Killeen, Texas. He's a speedster. 46.2, 100 meters. That's tops of the nation. Let's make that 400 meters.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's not all that fast.
Come on, Corn. 46.2, 400 meters.
I think I might be able to run
46.2, 100
46
meters.
seconds.
Oh, my goodness. Baylor, Mississippi State, Florida, Southern Cal, Missouri have offered, and he's taken 4 officials, Baylor and Mississippi State for football, Texas and Florida for track. His decision in February will be based on football. He told 24/7 Sports, Clemson, Baylor, Florida, and Southern Cal are the 4 he's focused on. And he runs a 46.2, 100 meters. Clemson also offered wide receiver 2022 Cole Turner, 6'2", 178, Vestavia Hills, Alabama, the brother of the departing safety Nolan Turner. He also has offers from North Alabama, Sanford, Buffalo, and Central Arkansas. So not heavily recruited, but a guy that, of course, has ties to Dabo Swinney through his father and his brother. And a guy that really hadn't played a lot of football. He's a basketball player. Just went out for football in the last year or so. Clemson target cornerback Miles Oliver of Douglasville, Georgia, was offered by Georgia Tech. Running back Andrew Paul of Dallas, who's drawn Clemson interest, was offered by Michigan. USC offered 2024 corner Javon Bailey of Norcross, Georgia. 2023 offensive tackle Marquis Anderson of Dorman was offered by Washington. I can't remember too many players in our state ever to be offered by the Huskies. USC and Clemson target 23 defensive tackle Keith Sampson of Newbern, North Carolina, plans to name a top 5 on January 15th. Gamecocks have offered, Tigers have not. He also has Tennessee, Alabama, NC State, North Carolina, West Virginia, Vandy, and others. USC signee receiver Landon Sampson of Southlake, Texas, will not enroll this month as originally planned, according to Ben Portnoy of the state. Former USC tight end Kavion Mullins transferring to Jackson State. Clemson tight end Jalen Lay put his name in the transfer portal, John, on Sunday. He had 2 catches in his career for the Tigers. Does he spell that L-E-Y or L-A-Y?
I think it is L-E-Y, if I'm not mistaken.
Double check that for me if you would, because I've got it L-E-Y. Why am I thinking L-A-Y? I mean, I'm probably right, but I think I'm wrong. Furman added defensive lineman Xavier Stevens, 6'3", 260. He's out of Lehigh, and he'll have 3 years of eligibility. Played in 8 games, had 16 tackles as a true freshman this past season. L-A-Y or L-E-Y?
It is L-E-Y.
L-E-Y, okay.
Yes, sir.
Basketball 6'9" Greg Jackson of Ridgeview has set an official visit to Duke for January 21st. Goodbye. That's according to Andrew Slater of @Pro Insight. I mean, seriously. You think he's going to take an official at Duke and not go to Duke or North Carolina?
Yeah.
I mean, really. And 2023 6'4" Rayvon Griffith of Cincinnati named USC among his top 10 at this point. The others are Cincinnati, Kansas, Oklahoma State, UCLA, Ohio State, Penn State, Alabama, Arizona State, and Louisville. There you go with our recruiting for now. There'll be more to come tomorrow and later tonight and tomorrow morning and the day after.
Do you miss the Sunday night show you used to do every Sunday in January many, many moons ago?
Well, no. No, because, I mean, there's nothing I could do on a Sunday night that would not already have been known, 12 hours in advance. The beauty of the Sunday night show was nobody else was doing it. So we had all the information. We'll be back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Very chilly this evening with low temps dipping down to 28. Tomorrow, cold, especially early, but the sun will make it more tolerable. High temp reaches just 49. Looking at the rest of the week, a bit warmer Wednesday and Thursday with temps reaching about 60. Friday is expected to be very cold with sunshine and a high of just 48. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Where do you take your pooch when it's time to head out of town? Well, it wasn't long ago we were afraid to leave Adrian anywhere. Then we found a Paws Paradise. Now when we need a vacation, we give Adrian one too at a Paws Paradise. All we say is, Adrian, want to go to camp? She knows bonkers with excitement. It's a great environment for your pooch. They do doggy daycare every day, or they can keep your pooch when you go away for that long weekend or a full vacation. Learn more at apawsparadise.com or call them at 551-0323.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. President Biden today meeting virtually with independent farmers and ranchers from around the nation. They discussed initiatives to reduce food prices by increasing competition within the meat industry. Major winter storm packing very heavy snow, closing government offices and schools in the nation's capital and surrounding suburbs. Monday's storm dumped up to 13 inches of snow and grounded the president's helicopter. Travel was very treacherous and still is, and more than 500,000 customers losing power. Some school systems around the United States have extended their Christmas holiday break or switched back to online instruction because of the explosion of COVID cases. Others, though, are pressing ahead with in-person classes. This is SRN News.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Have you spent a career in plumbing, heating and air, or even welding? Maybe you want to put the tools down or lighten your load, but you want to stay in the game. How about becoming an instructor with Midlands Tech and help train the next generation of skilled workers? Midlands Tech needs quality instructors. Maybe you still want to keep working, but pick up some overtime hours, passing on your skills. Call Michael Ross to learn more. Call 822-7065. That's 822-7065. You've got something to give. Midlands Tech wants your help.
Hey, it's Jay from the Melting Pot. One of the greatest gifts you can give your loved ones, family members, and best friends this holiday season is your time. And unlike other restaurants, you're not considered a table turn. We celebrate your time with us and each other when you come in and break bread together. We recognize a meal together these days is not just a photo op, but a real-life memory. We love to brag about our food, but we also love to brag about the memories you allow us to be part of. Happy New Year, and here's to new memories at the Melting Pot, 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
Hey, Tiger fans, 2022 Clemson baseball season tickets are currently on sale. Coach Monty Lee and your Clemson Tiger baseball team open the season on February 18th, and you can be there for every game by purchasing your season tickets. Home series include matchups against Miami, Florida State, NC State, Georgia Tech, as well as our annual home games against South Carolina and Georgia, and many more. So log on to ClemsonTigers.com to purchase your Clemson baseball tickets and come back home to Clemson.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and models.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
Have a new poll question of the week out on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, and on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. We hope that you'll participate and go vote in it. Poll question is, who is the Offensive Player of the Year in South Carolina? Selections are based on stats and postseason accolades. A room for 4.
This is the easiest poll question you've ever put up to vote.
So 361
There's only one answer.
votes so far. You're not biased, are you?
No, I'm not. I've tried to look at this legitimately, and I can't see anybody who had a better season than Grayson McCall.
No, he's got 43.4%, the Coastal quarterback. In second at 27.5%, wide receiver Josh Vann of USC. I tried to pick from these 4 schools the top offensive player, and I thought that Vann throughout the season was South Carolina's top offensive player, considering they changed quarterbacks, they changed running back so much. With 18.7% running back Will Shipley of Clemson, and with 10.4% receiver Shaq Davis of SC State. So those are the 4 we went with. That's the voting thus far. You got time to vote. Make sure you get her done. Panthers are set with their 2022 opponents. Wonder who'll be coaching against them. And we'll have Mick coming up. So
I've got a fascinating stat about them, Phil, that we can't bring up when Mick is on because it would just, devastate him. But Scott Fontana, who covers the Panthers, just tweeted out a little while ago that the Panthers are 1 loss away from finishing with the worst record in NFL history for a team that started 3-0.
Oh, really? That's
now, in fairness,
great note.
The 2001 Chargers and the 2012 Cardinals went from 3-0 to 5-11. The Panthers would be 5-11 if they played a typical 16-game season, but you had that extra game.
Yeah.
And when the Bucks beat them on Sunday, they'll end up 5-12.
So they play the Falcons, the Saints, and the Bucks home and away. And then at home, Cardinals, Niners, Steelers, Browns, Lions, Broncos, and away, Rams, Seahawks, Ravens, Bengals, and Giants. Okay. And let's see. What else we want to tell you about here? A few other notes. We told you about that. We talked about that. Mentioned that. Did that. Talked about that. Oh, this is what I was going through Twitter yesterday, and I see this post from I don't even know who this is. I guess it's this kid's father. Yeah. He posts about his son, Philip Hines. It must be his son. Defensive lineman, linebacker, running back. There is an organization called D1 Specs 2022 All-American Bowl. Philip Hines. He's 9 years old, playing for the Tucker Lions. Dad tweets out, "My little bro is a beast. Follow Philip." They want you to follow a 9-year-old. The kid has his own, so I didn't follow him, but he has his own Twitter page. It says Woodward Academy 2030. Football, linebacker, receiver, running back, defensive line, track, baseball, violin, and piano. He has
nice.
17. He has 17 followers. So Philip Hines, here's a tweet from December 12th. Philip Hines, 9 and under Tucker Lions, number 27, received a B2C nomination for Defensive Player of the Year. He was nearly unstoppable at DT and nose. Please cast your vote for this deserving young man. I mean, 9 years old. And people wonder where some of these kids, not saying this kid might turn out to be a gem, but we wonder how some of these kids, when they become 15, 16, 18, get to college, or maybe even in high school, get to college, feel like everything is theirs, everything is, they should get everything that they want, because some of this stuff just starts so early. But 9 years old, already getting into the Twitter world, and, it won't be long before one of the recruiting networks, starts to rank him as an 11-year-old or something like that. So I don't know. I just thought that was kind of strange.
And I just don't understand why, as a parent, now I am not a father, so this is not from past experience. I do have a dog. I don't know why you would want to put your 9-year-old up on the cesspool that is Twitter, where there's nothing positive that could possibly come from this, because you know what the initial reaction is going to be. Oh, 9-year-old, what's he doing on Twitter? He can't be all that good. Let him go be a kid. There's no positive to this, putting him up on Twitter. I don't quite understand that, why you would want to subject your son to that at this early age, where they're not physically nor mentally ready to be able to handle it. We talk so much about cyberbullying. Good grief.
Well, this could be the same kind of dad, just like with these two quarterbacks. Caleb Williams, who was quoted today, his dad. Spencer Rattler, when he was benched at Oklahoma and the immediate talk of him transferring, who was quoted? His dad,
Yep.
And bless their hearts. I mean, they're trying to do the best they can for their kids, but some are a little bit over the top. This might be, I don't know, how do you judge? Is this over the top? 9-year-old kid, you're already promoting him for this, that, and the other in football. He might turn out to be greatest thing since sliced bread in football.
Could very well be. And I hope he is.
I hope it turns out well for him. Don't want to go the other way. I just thought that was a little bit on the extreme side as I was checking things out over the weekend. Let's go to Sam in Charleston. Get Sam on board with us. And Sam, Happy New Year to you. Welcome to Sports Talk 2022.
Yay, hooray. How you doing?
We're doing fine. Hope you're doing well.
Doing well. Hey, I have a 3-point question for you if you have time.
Go right ahead.
So I got some bad breaking news to share with you. The College of Charleston men's basketball team has been canceled. One is at Northeastern up in Boston, and Hempstead, New York, has been canceled. You know that, right?
Yeah, I heard that. Got some COVID issues going on.
Well, Phil, I gotta tell you, I really feel bad for my team right now because of their health and conditions, kind of that. But what do you think moving forward with the basketball team? Because I'm a little confused between, are they supposed to go up there for a game or something, or are they rescheduled? Question number 2 I'm having is, what do you think the CFC baseball team this year? Because we have, I have a friend named Daniel Brooks. He used to play at Bishop England baseball. You know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You better look out for him. He's pretty good. He's got nasty pitches. Like I know his family really well, and I'm not gonna see him play this spring.
Yeah.
Number 3, I want to tell you that I want you guys to discuss this very quickly. What do you think? I am now celebrating my 12 years at the CFC basketball team, if you know that, right?
You said severing?
Oh, no. I am now celebrating my 12 years.
Celebrating your 12th year with the Cougar basketball team.
Yes, sir.
That's great.
And I was wondering if that's going to come down to a little interview with me.
Would we have to pay you? Do you require payment?
No.
You don't have an NIL agreement with the Cougars that requires the media to pay you, or so-called media?
Oh, hell yes.
No, you do?
Yeah, I do.
Oh. So how much? What would you charge us for a exclusive interview with you to celebrate your 12 years?
Basically, I wanted to talk about my my high school career because I went to Bishop England, if you know that.
I saw on your Wikipedia page that you went to Bishop England.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
So, is the Northeastern preparing for next game coming up in February?
I would say they probably are. Yeah, I hate the Cougars got a little bit of a problem. Cougars are 0-1 in the league. They're 8-5 overall. So see how long it takes them to get right here with the COVID stuff. So they had Rhode Island was canceled, and they lost that game to Stetson. Then they had a game with Rhode Island canceled. Then they beat ODU by 2. Then Drexel was postponed, and then they lost to Delaware by 1. Next 2 games, as you mentioned, Northeastern and Hofstra, have been postponed. So their next game that's still on the books is Elon at home on January 9th, Pat.
Just wanted to add, and Sam, if you're still listening, a bit of good news. You said that the games were canceled. As Corn just pointed out, the Colonial Athletic Association has said that the game is postponed. They have also said that they are making every effort to reschedule those 2 games, and they may do almost a quote-unquote doubleheader of sorts when to play 2 games back-to-back in Charleston when both of those teams, Hofstra and Northeastern, come down to Charleston at the end of January. So
Pat does not like you to say postpone when it was canceled or canceled when it was postponed.
Words matter, and postpone and cancel have very different definitions.
Thank you, Webster.
Colonial, one of the few leagues that is actually trying to get these games rescheduled. I applaud them for that, as opposed to making it a no contest. That's what the Sun Belt Coastals League has done. You're unable to play. That's not a cancellation. Excuse me, not a postponement. It's a cancellation, but it goes as a no contest. And they've had to go through all the minutia of figuring out, all right, if you have one team that finishes conference play at 10-6 and another one that finishes at 7-2, how do you equate the two? Because the other one didn't play nearly as many games as the first team. It's a mess.
All right, got to hit a break here on Sports Talk. We'll be back with more, including our visit with the voice of the Panthers for one more week. Mick Mixon, be right back.
COVID-19 booster shots are now available for all South Carolinians 16 and older. Increase your protection from COVID-19 by getting your booster shot. Learn more at scdhack.gov/COVID-19 booster. Keep fighting the spread. Wear your face mask. Stay 6 feet apart. And get vaccinated. Join us and fight the spread. Visit scdhack.gov/vaxfax.
Hey folks, mortgage rates have dipped to their lowest levels in recent history, and with home values up in many areas, now may be the perfect time to refinance your home. Whether you're looking to lower your monthly payments, free up cash for home improvements, or just pay off your home faster, a quick call to the one and only Stuart Wingo of Ameris Bank could save you money. If you're looking for competitive rates and exceptional service, call Stuart Wingo. 803-319-1777. That's 803-319-1777. You will save money just like I have so many times over the years. You can also visit him, amerisbank.com/Stuart Wingo. Stuart Wingo, the man with the plan for all your mortgage needs.
Hi, I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and I've got a great gift idea that requires zero shopping. The gift of college savings. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan makes it easy. Grandparents, friends, and family can all contribute to a Future Scholar account and know that they're providing a gift that will last a lifetime. If you're looking for the perfect gift this holiday season, look no further. Learn more about the smart, easy way to save and give this holiday season at futurescholar.com.
Life, it has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
Well, now's as good as any to announce the winners of our two Pick'em contests, the football filibuster and the Sports Talk Pick'em Challenge. I know people have been waiting for this throughout the bowl season.
With bated breath, as they say.
With breath that has been baited with what?
I'm not sure. I never delved into that saying very often.
Mhm.
Yeah, we all have been excited about the finding out who won.
Yes, yes. Well, as far as the Corn Cup, which is given to the winner of the football filibuster between Governor Hodges, who has many corn cups. He's got enough corn cups to outfit a lacrosse team. Get it? Corn cups? The cups.
I love the corn cup. Yeah, you need to actually come up with a physical corn cup, though, to give to the winner.
I think I will. He edges out the newcomer, Attorney General Alan Wilson. What a contest. They both went 6-4 in the bowl season, and the governor finished 43-37, the general 42-38. That's against the spread.
Pretty
That's
impressive.
against the spread. And looks like, let's see, the Wake Forest-Rutgers game, governor took Wake Forest, general took Rutgers. That was a big win for the governor there. That was maybe kind of the difference maker. Well, it didn't matter. I mean, they ended up 6-4, but the governor had a one-game lead going in. So the general had to make it up. Couldn't do it. Well, now we get to the prestigious Sports Talk Pick'em Challenge featuring the greatest minds in South Carolina. Mine, Chris's, Pat's, Smitty's, Dr. Rick Sanford, also known as Drick, Kevin Cohen, Bobby the Big Kahuna Harton, Fran, the money coach Halloran, Teddy, I'm not sweaty, Hefner, the bad boy of Sports Talk Radio, Alan Smothers, and Pete Yanitator. And at first, when I first did this today, I thought we had a tie, but I made a mistake.
Uh-oh.
Well, the mistake was this. I got to go back and fix this. So Kentucky and Iowa, that was the game in question here. Kentucky and Iowa. Kentucky was a 3-point favorite. So Iowa was getting 3, and Kentucky won by 3, so it was a push. So everybody gets a win when there's a push, just to keep life simple. Everybody gets a win when it's a push. I did not credit Pete. He picked Iowa. I did not credit Pete when I went over it. Did not credit him with a win. Should have made him 7-3 instead of 6-4. That changes his total to 47-33. So Pete Yanitator, he wins the Sports Talk Pick'em Challenge for this year. This is
I am going
one
to be
hunk
an
of a
advocate,
man.
though, for Pat, much the way Al Gore's campaign did. I want to recount, and you need to count all the hanging chads and make sure that Pat doesn't get screwed out of this if he actually did win.
Pat, your thoughts?
If it comes to it, I was excited for a tiebreaker. I kind of like the idea of, and I'm a bit surprised, are we not going to do anything for the national championship game? And I mean,
no, we're done.
We could even give you an opportunity to catch up, Corn, make it worth 5 or something, unless you're behind by more than that.
No, we're done.
Congratulations to Pete. Could not have lost to a better man. And again, just happy to have beaten Corn.
You did beat me. So you finished at 46-34, a game
That
back.
is well done.
47-33 with Pete. And then next at 42-38 was Rick. So good showing for Dr. Rick. Next, Fran and Allen at 41-39. Then next would be at 38-42, Teddy Hefner. And then at 37 and 43 would be me and you. We finished tied, Chris.
I feel like the Gamecocks, though, a little bit. I struggled all season long, but I got 7 wins during the bowl season, so I've got momentum into the off season.
There you go.
And I hope you're getting Mick while we're talking. And 37-43. And then who's next? 37-43. 35 and 45, the big kahuna. Bobby Harton had a 5-5 bowl season. We're getting down to the bottom. 35, 45, 34. Last place, 34 and 46, all by himself. Did I mention Kevin Cohen at 40 and 40? 7 and 3 bowl week for him, 40 and 40. So he's 500. He's a pretty average guy. And in last place, none other than the Smitty man, Matt Smith, at 34 and 46. So Smitty's got a lot of work to do for next year, pulling up the rear this time around. There you go. There you go. Congratulations to Pete Yanitator, and congratulations, Pat. You came out of nowhere to be a factor this year. Very pleased. Obviously, you're listening to some of my thoughts about things in football, and it's paying off for you.
No, but I do like next time we have the Attorney General on, maybe we could talk to him about legalizing gambling in the state. Could have actually had some winnings this year.
Yes, you could have. You could have cashed them in. All right, let's get to the Mick.
Short yardage play, sprint right option pass. Kamara, he will walk in, end zone right side. Now the Saints can come with pressure if they choose to. And here they come. Darnold moves up in the pocket, hit twice, sacked at the 20. Golly, just had no chance.
You know, Mick, I think your epitaph should be, and that's another Piggly Wiggly sack.
Harris Teeter.
Oh, jeez.
I like Piggly Wiggly.
Corn, I got to tell you this, though. I heard so many people have been so nice to me. And our mutual friend, Bob Juback, sent me a nice email.
Oh.
And I wish you would remember. I can't remember whether I responded to it or not. I need to go back and respond. But if you talk to him, please tell him Mick said to say what's up.
I will. I know it's not anything you can share on the air because we probably get banned for life. So, well, more of the same. One more to go. How you feeling?
A little salty, I guess. I don't know. The O-line problems are obvious, and if you can't get them blocked up, it's hard to evaluate quarterback. Panthers hung in there. Defense played pretty well. D-line got after it, but it's just not good enough. And what do you see? What do you see moving forward? Is there any way that it can go any way other than retool the O-line first, then be patient and getting your quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, look, you've been around the NFL more than I have, but I watch it. You know you can go from the outhouse to the penthouse in one off season. They could be very good next year with a few changes here and there. You know that's how it works in that league. And that league loves to tout the fact that a bad team one year can turn around and be an excellent team the next year.
I'm with you on that, but I think we don't just have one issue. I think it's multiple things. I think the Panthers will look at kicker, punter, although Zane Gonzalez, when he comes back healthy, he was one bright spot for this year. Hopefully get Christian McCaffrey healthy, get J.C. Horn back. But man, this O-line is going to be it's going to be a total makeover, total home makeover. We need to get Chip and Joanna Gaines up here to work on this thing.
Mick, Jim Szoke brought up a fascinating stat yesterday after the opening drive by the Saints. They had to kick a field goal, and Jim mentioned that the Panthers are the only team in the NFL that did not allow a first drive touchdown by an opponent all season long. That, to me, speaks elite defense. But obviously the Panthers have not been elite. So what has happened to them as the games wear along? Do they get frustrated by the lack of offense? What have you seen from the defense that plays so well early but maybe can't maintain for 60 minutes?
Real good question, Chris. It's a couple things. It is the defense has been asked to do so much. The offense hadn't been able to move it and flip the field, possess the ball, rest the defense. The other thing is teams have kind of figured the Panther defense out. Carolina is lighting the trousers at DN, and teams have been able to run the wide zone. So Dallas, Atlanta, the Patriots, Miami, teams that have that strong wide zone running attack have victimized the Panthers' rush ends. Hassan Reddick and Brian Burns are willowy. They're quick, but harder for them to just drop anchor and set a hard edge.
Mick, one more to go, my man. Enjoy the week ahead. I'm sure it's going to be full of a lot of pats on the back and accolades and memories, and we'll wrap it up with you next week. Have a great week.
You too, my friend. Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Voice
Mick.
of the Panthers, Mick Mixon. One final go-around from him. Thank you, Chris. Safe travels to Alabama for
Thank you,
and
sir.
the basketball team. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.
Someone will be right with you.
The Point.
WQA